Please subscribe to this channel and we'll keep the comedy clips flowing. And now...
Thank you very much. Good evening. Nice to be here. I've got to be honest with you, I feel slightly overawed by the amount of industry and creativity and discipline that's gone into creating this evening. And my work, by comparison, is going to feel rather stale to me at any rate. But that's what we're struck with. I have a 9-year-old son, much like Alfie, and obviously I'm aware, as many of you are, expect the utter futility of attempting to give him anything in the way of fucking advice. It's a laughable notion. Even advising him to brush his teeth in the morning takes 7 or 8 attempts. Teeth! Anything more complex in terms of the way he might structure his life over the next 40 years seems optimistic, to say the least. I was 10 years of age in 1975 when we last had a referendum on our future within or without the EU. I suppose if I was to give any advice to myself, at the age of 10, when we don't get so fucking excited at the prospect of joining the EU. Doesn't end well. But I do give quite a bit of thought to my 10-year-old self, mainly because when you have children, you do find yourself reverting to your own visions of parenthood, which were created, of course, by your own parents, much as you might have criticised them at the time, much as you might have scorned their attempts. Parenting, not that it existed as a verb in the 1970s, parenting was simply a biological relationship you had to some other living entities in the home. But nevertheless, you know, you fall back on them, and usually with resentment at the way you're being forced to now act in the modern era. Because that's what's fashionable and that's what your wife thinks would be appropriate. But I'll give you just one example. This is, you know, something I've talked about before, but I'm seeing it from this perspective specifically. We bought a dog a couple of years ago. I resisted it for a very long time. My wife and daughter campaigned tirelessly. Eventually, I caved in. We got a dog, and having done so, I can honestly say I wish we'd done it years ago, because then it might be dead by now. But, that is not. I don't want to give the impression that I'm anti-dog. I'm not a canophobe or whatever that would be. It's queuing up, isn't it, at the moment to get onto the register, canophobia. But I like dogs. I do. I am a dog person, not in some strange sort of sci-fi sense underneath the trousers or anything, especially cut to conceal the bobtail. But I am dressed to the left, but that's not significant. But I grew up with dogs. Again, not exclusively. There was, as I mentioned, human intervention from time to time, but not as much as you might expect. I was an only child. I suppose if I was going to give myself any advice, it would be give up on that, changing that's that. I'm an only child. And still I have to remind that's not going to change now. I would do not do that. Very unpleasant image I put into my own head there, but I was an only child, and in the 1970s, which was, and that wasn't out of, you know, choice, that was the only available decade in which to grow up at the time. Well, that sounds like a slightly existentialist complaint, but actually I'm not sure it is the case now. Nowadays, various retro options are available, aren't there? People reconstruct their lives according to the codes and fashions of other era, but that wasn't available in the 1970s, it just was the 1970s, and there was nothing ironic or retro about it at that time. It was just dull. It was slung at a low point between the excitement of World War II, where you could watch Messerschmitts and Spitfires in dogfights overhead, and nowadays, where of course everything is on demand and touchscreen and Wi-Fi, and you can recreate dogfights in the 9-inch square rectangle from which your eyes are rarely diverted. But in the 1970s, you were left to your own devices. Well, you had the devices, of course. We had no devices, but you were left. That was the point. You were left to your own dog, and my relationship with my dog, as a result, was quite functional. And he was the major sort of male role model in my life, I suppose. My father didn't leave home or anything. He left the building.
Hey you lovely person, please be sure to subscribe to this We Are Funny Project channel. It really helps us to keep bringing you comedy clips, stand-up tips and a whole load more. Thanks in advance.